I'm Victoria, the Historic Program Supervisor at Black Creek Pioneer Village, and today I'm going to be planting a container herb garden. Now, herbs have been in use in Canada for thousands of years, long before the settlers ever arrived. Indigenous peoples would use herbs for food, for medicine, and for cultural rituals. And in a 19th century garden, they are absolutely essential. There's a beautiful herb garden at the village right next to the harness maker shop. You should check it out next time you can. But for today, we are going to build a herb garden that you can enjoy at home. So let's see what supplies we'll need. First of all, you need your herbs. I'm going to be planting an herbal tea garden. So I have some chamomile, some peppermint, and some bee balm. You'll need a trowel, a container for your container garden, a saucer to catch any water, because the container, you're going to want to make sure there's a hole at the bottom or a few holes to allow drainage, as well as a tub in order to mix the soil and water, and of course a watering can. Or you could use a hose that has a watering wand attached, and of course gardening gloves, just to keep your hands clean. Okay, so I am also armed with instructions from our head gardener, Sandra Spudek, because I am a novice gardener myself, so we're learning all together here. But the very first thing that Sandra says that you need to do is you want to make sure that your herbs are, the root balls on the herbs are are a bit damp and moistened. So you want to make sure it's not dried out. So these ones are okay. If they are kind of dry, just soak them in a shallow tray of water for a few hours to overnight before you start. I'm making a mess here, but that's okay. And then we're going to make sure that our soil is moist enough as well, because water is a key ingredient here. So I put my potting soil in here so I knew how much I would need, but I'm going to dump it out of my container and into my tub. Now this soil is already pretty moist, so it just needs a little water. And you can use your trowel just to mix it up. And you just want to make sure that when you scrunch it a bit, it somewhat holds its shape. That way, you know there's enough water in there for your plants to drink. So then we're going to put the soil back into our container. Oh, try it this way, or you can, I'm making a mess. And we're going to fill it up to about fairly far up. Eventually we want the level of soil just to be about 1 inch from the top, but I'm not going to fill it up completely because we need room for the plants. So you can see there about how much I filled up. The next step is to make holes for your plants. So I'm going to just plant about 3 holes here. And then gently squeeze the plant out of the container you got it from at the store. And we're going to tease apart the roots so that they spread out in the soil. It encourages them to establish. So place that in there and just press down firmly with your thumb and forefinger. And I realize now that is much more than 1 inch from the bottom, so I'm going to fill that in a bit. So you want to measure. That's a bit better, just about there. We can put more soil in afterwards. And then repeat. I'm going to repeat with my chamomile. Spread out the roots. Just gently. Place it in there, check to see the height, about 1 inch from the top. And the peppermint. So Sandra wanted me to warn you all that if you do decide to plant peppermint in your container garden, that after a while, like after a year or two, it will spread and take over the entire pot. But for the first year, she said it would be okay. You may want to do a container pot of just peppermint. And if you plant it into the ground, be warned it will spread and take over a garden. So now I'm going to use the rest of the soil to plant in, to backfill around it. So once you've planted the herbs, you're gonna not want to harvest them right away. Let it wait a few weeks. Just pressing it in there so that the roots have a chance to establish. And then once they've had a chance to grow and really made themselves at home, you actually want to harvest them pretty frequently because it will encourage more growth, and it will also stop them from bolting, which just means they'll start forming flowers and things. Okay, so the very last step is that we want to water in the garden. And so that's just to gently water. So you don't want to blast this with a hose or anything. And herbs really like the sun, so put it in a sunny spot, water it pretty much daily, and enjoy your plants. All right, happy planting.